What's up, Night Owl? Steely here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be going over the random encounters of Chapter 2 in Rime of the Frostmaiden. The reason that I feel like random encounters needs their own video is because Chapter 2, you're going to keep going back to Chapter 2. After Chapter 3, you're going to be back in Chapter 2. After Chapter 4, and so on. Chapter 2 is just kind of the map itself, the wilderness itself, and all of the other chapters are just points within Chapter 2. So when you move between chapters, when you move between the points of interest within the chapter, you're going to have random encounters, or rather scripted encounters. And I'll go ahead and mention, if you watch some of my other videos, you know how I feel about random encounters and rolling them out. I don't have a problem with rolling out the encounters. I really don't. But there's no reason why you can't roll them out before game rather than in the middle of the game. Roll them out. It's like, oh, you guys are going to be up against a Yeti. Let me check, this. It takes no time to roll the dice, look at what you got, and then prep for that. And with that, you could just look at the list and decide from the list what you would like to run, what would be fun for your party to go up against. But I have no problem with rolling the dice. I would just rather the DM be prepared going into the game, so you can roll those dice beforehand. If you know just roll a couple. If you're dead set on rolling them out, just roll a couple of 4 or 5 before a game session, and then every time they go out and you feel that lull between events, throw a combat in there. And obviously you can gauge it. If your party wants more combat, add more combat. If they want less, less. Part of being a DM is you want to learn what your party wants and what your party likes. And, you can have too much combat. You can definitely have not enough. I've been plenty of games like that. So gauge that and find what your party wants and then give it to them. As far as how to roll on the wilderness encounter, they have a chart with 20 different encounters, one for each side of a 20-sided die. You roll the 20-sided die to determine what they go up against. And then you follow that roll up with another D20 roll to determine whether or not there's a blizzard. And the way you determine that is you roll the blizzard die and you add 1. If the result of your blizzard die is higher than the encounter die, it happens during a blizzard. So for example, let's say you roll a 5. You go to the chart, which is an ice troll, and then you roll your blizzard die. If you roll a 5 or more on the blizzard die, they encounter an ice troll during a blizzard. This means that the first encounter on the table, the Yeti, will always take place in a blizzard, because if you roll a 1 on the encounter die and you get Yeti, the blizzard die will always be higher than that because you're adding 1 to the blizzard die. So Yeti is the one encounter on the table that will always take place during a blizzard. And with that, let's start with that first encounter. If you roll a 1 on the D20, you're going to end up going against Yetis. You roll the D6 and determine whether or not it's going to be regular Yetis, an abominable Yeti, or a Yeti tyke. If it's a Yeti tyke, this is just a simple roleplay encounter. This Yeti tyke either ran away from home or got separated from its mother. Either way, it's going to encounter the party, and the party will determine what to do with it. If the party goes up against regular Yetis, you're going to roll a D4, and they'll go up against Yetis hiding in the snow, waiting to ambush the party. And finally, the abominable Yeti. This is going to be a tough fight. This might be one that you want to run away from. The abominable Yeti, it'll just be one. He'll be alone, and it will be hiding in the snow. Now, both the Yeti and the abominable Yeti have advantage on stealth while they're hiding in the snow. So they'll have advantage on that stealth roll, so the party will use their passive perception to determine whether or not they see them. Otherwise, surprise round, and the Yeti is going to open up. Yeti's pretty simple to run. 2 claws and a chilling gaze on the squishiest target. They do have an intelligence of 8, so they can identify the most heavily armored. They may not necessarily identify spellcasters or specific roles within the party, but they can at least look at a shield and a set of armor and determine that the clothy wizard or the rogue may be a better hit, but they won't have very advanced tactics. A 2 on the encounter table is a Goliath Wherebear, and these Goliath Wherebears are forces of good in Icewind, and they are run, or the tribal leader of the Goliath Wherebears is Oyama Nartok, who I will be referring to as Oyami for short for the rest of the video. Oyami runs or is in charge of this tribe of Goliath Wherebears, and she goes out and helps adventurers and smites evil across Icewind Dale. And if you encounter her during a blizzard, she will probably escort you back to town or somewhere safe and just kind of watch over you in general. She is neutral good, so that's something to keep in mind when role playing these werebears. As far as passing on her curse or any of the werebears, you may encounter a member of her tribe rather than Oyami. And if you do, they only pass their curse on to Goliaths who are pure of heart. And if you challenge Oyami to a duel or a fight, and you impress her, she will consider turning you. Again, only Goliaths. Only Goliaths will be turned to werebears, at least by her tribe. If the party wishes to return the favor for her kindness, she will give them the quest to clear out the cave of the berserkers. And she will also, you could also take this opportunity to have her explain the Charlatan and what it does and how it affects creatures that wield it. This is a good opportunity because, as I mentioned in the chapter 2 prep video, there's not a whole lot of places to introduce Charlatan and to kind of explain what it is or kind of hint at it. And the werebear, the Goliath werebear, is a really good opportunity because it's somebody that's actually familiar with the metal but not corrupted by it. And there's not a whole lot of that in Icewind Dale. Most of the time, most of the encounters with this metal will be by the party just finding it, possibly on a slain creature or in a lying around. But having an actual NPC able to explain it and answer questions is a solid encounter. And this is definitely one that I would script into your campaign somewhere before chapter 2, or rather chapter 3. Number 3 on the encounter table is Crackheads. This one's pretty simple. You roll a d4, and that's how many Crackheads the party's going to encounter. If this happens during a blizzard, the cats are going to use their sense of smell and their sense of hearing to track the party, as blizzards will restrict visibility. The Crackheads will wait on an opportune moment to strike. They're not just going to go out there, especially if it's just one Crackhead. If it's one Crackhead, they will stalk the party until they take a rest and then jump whoever's on watch with their pounce and then follow up with, and they'll just do claw and bites. Crackheads are pretty simple to run. Remember that they have that spell turning ability. So if spellcasters start trying to hit them, they do have the ability to turn spells on them. Other than that, simple bites and claws at whoever it looks the juiciest. And that's it for the Crackhead. Number 4 on the encounter table is a Cold Light Walker. Now, this is a really good encounter because it actually has direct communication from the Frostmaiden herself. As the party encounters this Cold Light Walker, if it's during a blizzard, which I recommend that you script that blizzard in for this Cold Light Walker, specifically because the Frostmaiden will have a bit of a speech for the party. It's just not really a speech, just one line, but it's really nice to have that confirmation that the Frostmaiden is there and she is responsible for this, rather than just rumors and hearsay. The party will actually hear the Frostmaiden speak to them and absolutely have them know that it's the Frostmaiden herself before they encounter this Cold Light Walker. And one little addition that I would make to this encounter is the Cold Light Walker is actually a dead, either a Regad Nomad or one of the humanoid sacrifices to the Frostmaiden. What I would definitely recommend for this encounter is have one of those humanoid sacrifices be recognized by the party. This is an opportunity for the party to learn that this is what happens during a humanoid sacrifice. It's a very big, very emotional realization when they learn that these humanoid sacrifices are actually bolstering the Frostmaiden's army. This isn't just something that happens. She is recruiting from these sacrifices. So this is a really solid. This is another one that I would script into every campaign. Number 5 on the encounter table is the Ice Troll. Oh boy, your party will need to run from this one. The Ice Troll actually has an aura that does a lot of damage to anybody within melee range of it. It also has the classic troll regeneration. So it's just a big, tanky creature. It hurts. It's got like over 100 hit points, aura of damage, claws, bites. This is just a nasty tank. Really simple to run though. It doesn't have anything special about it. It just has these passive effects that go on while it's tearing through your party. So this one's pretty tough. This one's going to be pretty tough on your party. It can't be reasoned with, whether Blizzard or not. It's just going to charge up to the closest thing and just start swinging. So simple to run, very hard fight. Number 6 on the encounter table is the Frost Druid. This will be another tough fight for your party, depending on their level, depending on their overall equipment, spells prepared, things like that. This one can really mess up your party. The Ice Druid is with 3 awakened creatures. You roll on a D4 table, and it will be either a tree, elk, walrus, or goat. And as far as the Ice Druid, what the Ice Druid will do in combat is just drop those sleet storms. It'll do a lot of AoE damage. It can polymorph. It can fly. If it's a melee heavy party, they can retreat as an owl. Very tough fight. Those sleet storms do a lot of damage, and there's no avoiding the damage. Like, you can save for half, but that damage is still going through. So if the party's smart, they'll try to split up so they don't all get hit by it at once. But if they're bundled up, she's going to AoE nuke them while her pets run up. Number 7 on the chart is the Chartland Berserkers, and these are also pretty simple to run, but they can be pretty challenging. The party's going to be up against D4 plus 1 of them. As far as running them, they have madness, so you roll a D6, and on a 1, they do nothing on their turn. They also have the Barbarian Reckless Attack. They can take advantage on their attack, but they'll take disadvantage when people swing at them. And they hit like trucks, and they could be a pretty tough fight. If the party manages to take them down, though, they wear rings of the Frostmaiden, which if a party member takes off of one of these berserkers, they will be teleported to the Cave of the Berserkers. So this is something to keep in mind. If you want a reason to run the Cave of the Berserkers, if you want your party to go there and experience that particular point of interest, just put them a random encounter against some berserkers. They kill them. They find this sweet magical ring. They take it off, teleport it to the cave, and you can transition from there. Number 8 on the chart is the Frost Giant riding a mammoth. This is probably one of the hardest encounters on this chart. This Frost Giant will wreck a party. A +9 to hit with their great axe that does 3d12 is no joke. Plus mammoth. The party does have the opportunity to roleplay out of this. If they fail their stealth check, they can offer either 1,000 gold pieces to this Frost Giant to let them buy, or they can use persuasion and deception. If they name drop Aravia Tourist, the white dragon, they may be able to get away from this frost dragon, or from this frost giant, who is a mortal enemy of the white dragon. Number 9 on the table is Battlehammer Dwarfs. This is a simple roleplay encounter. Chances are you probably won't have a combat here unless your party is incredibly bloodthirsty, in which case you should probably be looking at the more combat-oriented encounters on this chart anyway. I would actually change this encounter to Duergar if you want to make it a combat encounter, and also if the party is unaware about Duergar presence here in Icewind Dale, or if they don't know about Chartland, or both. Chances are it'll be both. If they don't know about one, they probably don't know about the other. If they don't know about Duergar or Chartland, have a Duergar encounter here instead of Battlehammer, and they can learn about that. If you do go with the Battlehammers, it will either be prospectors who are mining at Kelvin's Cairn, or they'll be fishermen fishing for knucklehead trout. This is a simple role-play encounter. You can sit down. The party can sit down with them and have a few drinks, swap stories over a campfire. Maybe throw in some rumors that lead to other quests if you like. That's a very solid option for this one. There's a couple of different ways you can go. These NPCs can just be simple information, or they can tell stories. They can give hints to upcoming encounters, things like that. There's a lot that you can do with these particular dwarves. Number 10 on the encounter table is Aravia Tourist, the legendary ancient white dragon that flies around Icewind Dale. There is a whole story behind Aravia Tourist that honestly deserves its own video. But for the purposes of this video, This is an ancient white dragon that is massive and the party has no business fighting this one. And if you're a DM and one of your party members gets uppity and decides to swing at this dragon, hurl insults at it, don't be afraid to snatch that party member up like a snack and fly on and just leave the rest of the party with their jaws hanging. It happens, believe me. There will be players that will test you as a DM and think that they can get away with stuff like that. But it's up to you if you like, I don't like killing players. I don't want to give off that. I don't want to give off that vibe, but sometimes players will get testy. And this dragon is no joke. There's no hope for combat. As a matter of fact, if the party even starts a combat, save it. We don't waste their time with rolls. Just say this dragon is going to eat you. It does. Give them a cinematic death and move forward. No need to waste their time. And as far as if this dragon is encountered during a blizzard, she is going to be buried in the snow with nothing but her rider, a dead wizard, poking out. If the players interact with the wizard, she's going to shake them off. They're going to roll a dexterity save and get shaken off of the back of the dragon, in which case they should probably run away and hide. That's up to you. If there's no blizzard going on when they meet her, the dragon is simply flying overhead, and you can use this opportunity to give them a really, really cool description of this massive dragon that flies overhead. Maybe it swoops in, snatches up an owlbear or a polar bear or something, just snatches it up and eats it, and just give them a really cool cinematic effect of this dragon. Number 11 on the table is a snowy owlbear. Now this one is great because the party can actually recruit this one. Now the book says that if they have the owlbear whisperer secret, they can befriend this thing, but I would just scratch that and just make it to where if the party offers it food, which it is starving, if the party offers it food, they could do it animal handling. I would recommend DC 15. If you want to up it just a bit, you could do 17. If you really want this party to have the owlbear, you could drop it down to 13, 12 or 13, something like that, just around that range. Give them a chance of failure. If they fail, the owlbear just kind of like, nah, I don't want nothing to do with you. And if they pass, they have a pet owlbear. And the book actually describes how the upkeep for this pet snowy owlbear, which is really cool. It's 9 gold pieces per day, and that's just to feed it the animals it needs. If an outlander in the party could feed it, or a druid could maybe create the food, or ranger go out and hunt, things like that. Owlbear, pretty solid. You can actually recruit it. DMs, don't be afraid to have NPCs like that in your party walking around. Pets are a cool thing. They're a fun thing as a player, and don't be afraid of it. It's not as far as combat goes. If the party decides to kill it, it's not going to be much. It's going to get dropped pretty quick. It's alone, and unless your party is already weakened, this combat would be a breeze. Number 12 on the encounter table is Knowles, and I love Knowles. I love running Knowles. They're just so vicious and unnerving, and they can be a great encounter to really throw your party off, make them kind of shake things up a bit. So the way that I run these Knowles, you get a D4 plus 3. And the way that I do it is if you're near a mountain or if the party's in a canyon, put them somewhere in there, somewhere where the Knowles have the high ground and they can get the jump on them. And they can hear the laughing and the cackling before they even see the hyenas, which will actually give them away so they don't get the jump. There will be no surprise because they're starving and they're really excited, which I think is just a really cool effect. And then they will jump down. They'll find the weakest, and they'll surround them, and they'll try to take them down and eat them. And you can give them really cool equipment, bones from previously slain villagers or any raiding that they may have done. Really spice these guys up because they're nasty, and they can also lead to a quest. They can lead to the Crackling Chasm quest, which I'll do a video for in the future. But these Knowles are coming from that chasm and looking for food so they can bring back to their clan. Number 13 on the encounter table is an orc raiding party, which consists of an orc war chief, a half ogre, an orc Eye of Grumsh, and 6 orcs. This can be a very tough fight just with the sheer numbers and power coming into this group. It's not just one big mean creature like the troll or the Goliath. This is just a bunch of pretty decent combatants. Thankfully, though, it may not end up in combat. If you have a party face that wants to negotiate, they are amenable. You can talk them down. If you mention, if you speak in Elvish or Dwarvish, though, you're going to have disadvantage on that check. But these orcs are just coming down from the mountain looking for food, and they can be bargained with. If you sing them a song about Grumsh or about slaying elves and Corellin, this, yeah, they're amenable. They can be not necessarily friends, but they can be non-hostile, or they can be talked down to at least indifferent with the right roles. Number 14 on the list is a party of 4 Goliaths, and they're either here on a dare or they're working on a scavenger hunt, or they could be here looking for Oyami, the werebear. And if they're looking for Oyami, they're probably doing so because they want to prove themselves to her so that they can join her clan. So that's entirely up to you what these Goliaths are here for. This is not a combat encounter, rather it's a roleplay encounter, and they also have a couple of mini games, which I'm not going to get into in this video. There's quite a few, and they have their own rules. There's a chart. They have games like tug of war or boulder toss. So check the book. The book has a couple of mini games that they will play with the party. You can also lead to 2 quests that will unite the Goliath party, and that's a big deal here in Icewind Dale if you want to run those 2 particular quests. Wormdoom Crag or Sky Tower Shelter are the 2 quests that these Goliaths could lead to. Number 15 is Twingas. This is a simple role-play encounter. Twingas are just nature spirits, and if they are encountered during a blizzard, they're going to be somewhat of a nuisance. They'll give a poison berry that does 1 point of damage if a party member eats it. They may poke them, just overall just being annoying, throwing snowballs. If there is no blizzard, they'll give them a berry that heals 1 point, or they may give them a charm. This is up to you. As a DM, you can give them a charm if they do a specific roleplay type encounter, or if the roleplay goes a specific way. The book doesn't have a whole lot on this particular encounter, but you could definitely spice it up. Have a couple of Twingas. They give charms, and it's a good opportunity to give your party a cool effect, a cool charm from one of these Twingas, depending on how you want the roleplay encounter to go. But combat won't be a thing. These things they don't really have any combat capabilities. If they are encountered during a blizzard and they're overly obnoxious, the party may slay them outright, but it'll be a slaughter. Number 16 on the chart is an awakened beast. Now this can go a lot of different directions depending on what this beast goal is, who it's working for, and which beast you choose. What I would recommend for this encounter is pick one that you like. Maybe, if you want to, if one of your party members likes cats, give them a saber tooth. If you want to give them a rhino, a woolly rhino, that'd be cool too. Just a creature. Pick a beast that you like, awaken it, and then the party will encounter it. A couple of options for as far as this thing's goals is it could be a spy for a frost druid, in which case it'll just kind of keep its distance and watch the party. It could just be out there wandering around. It was awakened at one time, and maybe the frost druid was killed or some other druid awakened it, in which case it's just a helpful animal, just a fun thing for them to encounter, and it may end up being combat depending on the animal that you choose. So pick a fun animal, go through the list. You don't necessarily have to choose off of that list. If you don't want to, you can pick something else. Throw a dinosaur in there. You can, whichever animal you want. Number 17 on the table is Icewind Cobalts, and this group of 2d4 Cobalts are out here looking for Aravia Tourist, the big legendary white dragon, so that they can worship her. And they're carrying a couple of silver and copper and possibly a potion of healing as an offering to Aravia Tourist, hoping that will appease her. And how your party interacts with this is really up to you. The book says that the Cobalts may try to rob the party. I don't know. I don't think Cobalts are that dumb, depending on the level of the party and like how they look and what they're wearing. I mean, if they're walking around with weapons and armor, I don't think the kobolds are trying anything stupid. The party may encounter the kobold at a camp. If you want to have the kobolds try to rob the party, they may follow them, wait till they set up camp, and then try to make their move. In that scenario, in my opinion, that would make a little bit more sense. But a group of 2d4 kobolds just outright attacking the party, I don't expect that to really doesn't really seem like something kobolds would do. But you could run them however you want. This is a pretty simple encounter. Couple of kobolds, they're looking for the big dragon, and they have a very small offering to offer her. Number 18 on the table is a group of ragged nomads, and this is a pretty simple one. First thing that you're going to do if you decide that the party is going to encounter these nomads is you need to determine which clan they're of, either bear, elk, wolf, or tiger, and this is going to determine how this particular encounter is going to go, depending on which tribe is what I meant, tribe that they are from. So read up on those tribes. There's 4, and read up on those, and you can determine how the combat. It may not necessarily be combat. It may be a roleplay encounter. Some of the tribes will actually get along with 10-towners. So read up on the tribes, pick which one that you want them to be from, and this could actually lead to the point of interest, the nomad campsite. And so you could follow up with that if you choose. Number 19 on the table is just a herd of beasts. This is a pretty simple encounter. They'll be indifferent to the party unless somebody attacks, in which case the herd will run away, and maybe one member of the herd will actually engage in combat. But this is pretty simple. The book mentions that there may be hunters chasing this herd, in which case you can have those nomads that I mentioned earlier be here. Otherwise, it's just a herd of elk or mammoths. If the party attacks, they'll fight one, the rest will just scurry or run off. And finally, number 20 on the encounter table is Peritons. I personally love running Peritons against a 3rd or 4th level party. And the reason for that is because they really highlight flaws in the party that I'm running's tactics. They will really shine a bright spotlight on what is wrong with what you are doing, depending on how you run them and the party makeup. But what is so great about these Peritons is they have a 60-foot fly speed and they have flyby, so they do not provoke. So what they will do is hover 30 feet above the party, swoop in, do their dive attack, which adds an extra 2d8 to their gore and talons, and then fly right back up 30 feet, no attack or bob. And the reason this is so great, and I see this all the time, you guys are going to laugh, or be surprised, but there are people who draw up characters with no ranged attacks. A fighter I've seen it all the time. The barbarian will rely on that great axe, and they won't have a bow or a javelin or anything like that. A fighter with no short bow or a long bow, it happens. These people will draw up characters without ranged attacks, and these Peritons will embarrass them, will insult them, because they have an intelligence and they can see what weapons, and they can see you, fighter and barbarian, readying in action, and they will avoid you. They will avoid you, like winding back with that great axe, hoping to get that baseball swing in. No. Peritons have, I believe, a 9 intelligence. They have an intelligence score, and they are smart enough not to charge in to oncoming traffic. And that's particularly why I love those, is because they'll just show you. They'll show you outright. They will and they're so simple to run too. Just swoop in, attack, and then fly back up. Really easy running. I've actually had people mad at me. Guys, I'm not gonna use any names, but I've had people mad at me. I've had a fighter, great with his just not 2-weapon fighting, great weapon, got his great sword, his 2d6, and I put him against Peritons, and he just had to stand there like, I'm readying, and he was upset with me after the game. Like, why did you put us against that? Like, am I supposed to cut out every creature with a fly speed because you don't want to carry a bow? Buddy, come on now. Flying creatures are in the name of the game. Dragons, Dungeons and Dragons. So up to you, DMs. Peritons are a great one. They're a great one. Highly recommend them for your 3rd, 4th level party. If you're ever in one of my games and you're 3rd level, 4th level, be ready for them flyby attacks. And that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. This one was a little different. This one was just, I felt it necessary to kind of go over all of these random encounters. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'll mention now, script these out. Pick the ones that you like. Gauge your party. If you have a fighter with the great sword and no bow, throw those Peritons in there. Show them you need to be carrying a bow or not. If you know, keep them away from it. If you want to highlight their strengths and just focus on what they're doing. I don't want to sound like I'm just like trying to embarrass players or I'm trying to tailor encounters against their weaknesses. I don't encourage that. I'm not. It's just fun sometimes because I obviously, if you've been playing D&D for a while, and I definitely feel strongly about this. No matter what you're playing, you need some kind of ranged attack. You need something. Barbarian with javelins, fighter with a bow. I mean, you're proficient. You can put some damage numbers out there. And if the party uses the right tactics against those Peritons, and they group up, and then the fighter prepares, readies an attack, that's fine. You can use your great sword then. Everybody groups up, ready my action, swoop in, boom. So yeah, you don't always tailor encounters like that against parties' weaknesses. That's just one that regardless of how the party's built, Peritons are just a really fun one against the 3rd and 4th level party. And yeah, I'm harping on the Peritons. As you can tell, I really love that encounter. But there's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of good ones in here. Aravia Tourist. If your party doesn't know about Charlin, doesn't know about Duergar, put them against them. The Knowles, obviously, I have a lot of fun with those. Pick the ones that you like. Awakened creatures. If you got like a druid or ranger in the party and they like animals, you want animal handling. Snowy owlbear is great. Just there's a lot of great ones. Don't use the dice. I mean you can use the dice, but don't do it in the middle of the game. And I would definitely recommend picking the ones that you like, putting your party against them, and seeing how it goes. And with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know how YouTube works. Hit those buttons, leave a comment down below. Let me know what your favorite of these 20 encounters are. And if you're a DM looking for players looking for a DM, make sure you join the Discord. Link in the description. Come by, ask questions, let me know what you think. And as always, I'll see you at sundown.